doing it their way. BK's doing it his way. They're trying to fill
BK
their roster
and
and their coaching staff.
You roll.
And back to what I was saying before the big news broke about Dana Holgorsen. I would imagine, it seems like he may be part of this. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't want to say it seems like. I would not be shocked if you heard his name pop up and him become part of the staff in some form or fashion here at LSU. He's getting his buyout. He's getting paid. He was a former head coach at Houston. He's known for being a very, very good offensive mind. And I would not be shocked if you saw him become part of the staff in whatever capacity that is, whether it be an analyst or OC or whatever it is. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about it, because LSU still has to hire their OC officially, and they still need to hire their secondaries coach. That's really the big positions that they have to do. Listen, the players were calling for our guy. The players are tweeting at Corey, trying to push for Corey Raymond. That doesn't always work, obviously. A lot of times it doesn't work. More times than not.
Call to action.
Yeah, but we'll see. Are you hearing anything on your side, Lloyd?
No, that was the biggest scoop I've heard in days about anything about the LSU offensive search. And like you said,
I'm not saying he's going to be the OC.
You're right. That's what I was about to say.
I think that he's just going to be there on some form or fashion. As an analyst, helping.
And I wouldn't be concerned with that. That's a good thing, right? Look what Nick Saban did with his. You can do the same thing now that he's gone.
Great.
Now you become almost a pick of the litter, as opposed to Alabama had established this factory of Alabama rehab programs for great coaches that just came on. All right, I can't get a coaching job this cycle. I'll come be an analyst at Alabama. And then if I get promoted to a on-the-field role or whatever, your name gets back out there and you're on staff.
And are the young and coming up-and-comers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But in Holgerson's case, he's a good football mind and a good football coach.
He's not super old.
No, and it's somebody that probably doesn't know what to do without football. He's one of those guys where I've done this for so long. Head coach at West Virginia, Houston. He's always done football. And if you can nab a name like that to help you kind of transition to a new offense with somebody that has a pedigree of offense, if it's an analyst role to help Joe Sloan and Hankton come up with this is how you structure. This is how I structure an offensive game plan. Take it for what it's worth, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is how I'd approach the week. It can't hurt.
Can't hurt. But I thought that was interesting when I heard that.
Now, if he's the OC, that's when things get really interesting. If he comes in off of being fired from the head coach at Houston and supersedes your guys of Sloan and Hankton that feel like you've kind of wanted to keep the entire time, and then you're like,
but his
name's big enough to where it would pop. People would be like, oh.
There's got to be a conversation at that point where Sloan is maybe it's a Insminger, Joe Brady type thing. Hey, you're the OC and you're the passing game coordinator, but you're kind of the OC, and he's just going to help guide you, and he's going to actually call the plays, and you're going to kind of learn how to do it. I don't know, but I'm with you. I think that I think they know that they really need to keep Joe Sloan.
Yeah,
because
he's recruited his.
He's a really good. He's a really good recruiter. He brought the number one quarterback in the country. And I know you don't do things because of one player, but I think he's done it year in and year out since he's been here and brought in these top guys that LSU's not normally getting at quarterback, and then developing them, not just getting them, developing them. So. I think that they value him, and they think that he is very important to the staff. And I think they feel the same thing about Hankton, right? I think you're going to see Hankton's value this year, right? Listen, what did you say, Jay, going into the year about Malik? Malik's very good. I think he's a first-round talent. I got to see him show me that you are different than just a good receiver. Show me how you can be elite, right? And this year he was, right? He's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. And, was Hankton the reason, right? Did he help him develop him? I don't know. But you're going to find out this year how good of a developer he is of talent with the guys that you have.
So, you touched on it before, but when you got Sloan and you got Hankton, and you have the exit of an O coordinator, and now you have a brand new starting quarterback coming into play, and you only have one returning receiver that has a lot of time on the field. Hard for me to believe that you're going to let quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, and receivers coach all walk.
Right.
in some shape, form, or fashion when you're going into year 3 where winning's paramount this year.
And you just lost your entire defensive staff.
When you go 10 wins, you're not expected to do less. We can't go the entire staff on both sides of the ball for the most part out of the building and expect to get what we want when it comes to wins this year.
Continuity's got to be something.
So I would imagine that they are doing everything they can to keep those dudes into it. Like you said, hey, Dana's been seen in town for whatever that's worth, right? So if there is a way to get him on the staff, it's going to be interesting to see in what capacity that is. But I can't imagine a world where those two dudes are allowed to actually walk out of the building and go somewhere else to do something else.
Yeah, and that's what you run the risk of if you try to bring in an actual, like, quote-unquote big-name offensive coordinator or hire anybody else. Is like, this is your offensive coordinator. You run the risk of losing those two, and it feels like the easier of the two options, whether for better or worse.
Or you run the risk of losing the actual continuity that you had.
Right.
If he comes in, maybe you don't lose those guys, but what if he wants to put in his system, and now that system doesn't really work with the guys here?
Well,
that's also what you missed.
Here's the other question, right? And I said this 2 years ago when everybody was scared that we were going to lose Matt House to a head coaching job.
Right? Got to re-sign him, right?
Right. They said this when Joe Brady was here, and Joe Brady ended up leaving for an OC job, right? Just because he doesn't get that job at LSU, right? Just because Joe Sloan or Cortez Hankton don't get promoted to the OC job does not mean, they are going to leave and go take any type of offensive coordinator job out there. Like, they're not leaving LSU to go take the job at Texas State. The OC job at Texas State. They're not leaving LSU to go take the OC job at Tulane or wherever. They're only going to leave LSU if they don't get the OC job here if it makes sense for them to further their career forward, if it's a better job than what they've got now. And I don't know if there's many out there that are better than what they've got.
And I was about to say, that's the other side of it, right? Don't sleep on the chess game that could possibly be in play right now in the sense of Scott and that staff may be like, hey, let's keep countering back, giving love, massaging, bringing you in, but kind of saying that maybe you're not the guy because as we do this, there's a better opportunity that we keep you here. There's a better opportunity that these OC jobs fill up around the country to where whatever's left, you don't want.
Right.
To
it's
leave.
Look, then you build, then you have the opportunity to build your resume even more. Hey, listen, Nussmeier balls out for 2 years. You're the quarterback coach under Jaden and Nuss. You called some plays in the bowl game and y'all did really well. Now all of a sudden you've had 2 or 3 quarterbacks come through and you've been really good. Okay, you don't get the OC job here. Offense is humming. Boom. Now you go somewhere else and you get that job, right? So you get to build your resume because you're the Joe Brady track. Joe Brady wasn't the OC, but was the OC. But was he really? Like, he wasn't calling all the plays. He called some plays. He goes and he builds up. He have a Heisman Trophy guy. He was the guy. Now he goes there. It was hard for him. He was in a bad situation in Carolina. Gets fired. Quarterback's coach at Buffalo. Now he's redoing it. He kind of built his resume because of the hype behind it.
There's 2 different distinctions when it comes to jobs. And honestly, it's the same in college football as it is in professional football. Coordinators, you're paid for stats. You are paid to put up stats, to put up number 1, top 10, top 5 type of units, right? Head coaches, GMs, ADs.
You better win.
You're paid for wins.
Yeah.
So, that's what those guys have got to do, right? So they don't have to, for Sloan and or Hankton to be able to continue to elevate their career, their job titles, they don't have to win. They got to put up stats. Brian Kelly's the ones that has to put up wins, right? And that's kind of where these situations are, where it's like, hey, all right, if I'm going to have to stay here, I need to kind of keep putting up stats. Well, this is possibly a good spot to keep putting up stats, especially as time keeps going on and jobs are getting filled, right?
Well,
where are you going to fall besides being here?
Because then you get the title of, hey, not only did I do it for 1 or 2 or 3 guys, like I'm recruiting these guys, I'm bringing them here, I'm getting them to school, and I'm developing them, and we are winning, and we're putting up stats. You're not necessarily calling the plays, but you're doing the stuff. You're helping that guy who's putting up the numbers. You're making him better. So when it's time for your number to get called and you get the job somewhere else or the job opens here, you may be better equipped for it. And so I guess my point in saying all this is even if they do hire somebody from the outside as the OC here, I don't think that it's just a slam dunk. Oh, they didn't hire those guys, they're gone. Like, I don't think that's the case because, like, it's not like they're getting fired, right? They were the intern because they just –
at this point, it doesn't matter if they hire someone or not. I think those guys are here.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what is actually going to – are their job titles going to change? Are they getting a pay raise or how's it going to go? Because I just don't see a world where you let those guys walk knowing what has already walked or what has already gotten jobs in other spots and – what's at stake for you next year at LSU.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe you let them walk.
That's where I think LSU fans are probably wanting to defend against. That's why they'd want to see them named co-OC and passing game coordinator, which Cortez already has that title. But they want to see probably Sloan and Hankton promoted this year so you avoid everything that happens in the scenario you lead out where they're attached to like, oh, you're the quarterback's coach, they're quarterback's coach, and then it pops that, okay, well, I could have been the offensive coordinator here. They never offered it to me, so I'll go somewhere else, and you lose Joe Sloan. What if he's
But you're going to lose him at some point. That's the thing. You got to understand that.
And Joe Sloan probably has aspirations to be a head coach.
Right.
So if he's getting these guys, he's recruiting them, he's developing them, and the offense is humming, but if he's not the OC and the offense is still humming and you're still getting those guys, then all of a sudden you've built that reputation at LSU. Hey, offensive coordinator is very good. They're putting up numbers. They're winning. So if Joe Sloan's not that OC and he's just a quarterback's coach and you lose him, it's like, yeah, you lose them, but like you've already built up you've had 5 straight years where the offense has been top 5 in the country, top 10 in the country. Like, it's okay.
You got to understand, too, like, do you want to lose them today? No, I really don't think you lose them today, meaning like this year, but this is not your daddy's LSU, right? Like, there ain't no coordinator staying in this conference on a flagship school, on a top flight program like LSU that's going to be here for 10 years. You're out of your mind if you think that that's happening at this point. It ain't going to happen. So you're going to lose them at some point. Yeah. You might as well just go ahead and prepare yourself for that. How quickly you're going to do it, that's the
fact that Alabama kept Kirby Smart for as long as he did Alabama was unbelievable.
That's because
you're not going to see that anymore.
Exactly. But that stuff just doesn't happen.
Same with Dabo and his DC. Now he's the head coach at Oklahoma. Yeah. Like, you're not going to see that anymore. Like, you don't see a guy, you don't see company men.
And I think it becomes even more so now that this thing's completely open. 12 teams a year? Oh, I can go run it somewhere else. I can get in as a 12 team.
Yeah, I was just saying I think that you avoid the step of, if you don't promote them to coordinator, of them feeling like they got spurned as like they're on the staff, and then they make what would be a different move to a school just because it's offensive coordinator, but it's not a better school than LSU. Would be like a quote-unquote lateral move, but because they get the offensive coordinator title, that's the reason they're going. If you just give it to them at LSU, you probably hold on to them for a few more years.
Right, but that's assuming that they're going to be successful in that situation. Right. Then that's
what I'm saying. I think
you run the risk of saying I'm going to do that, and then them not be good, and then you lose them anyway, because they're not like they're both not going to stay.
They're gone at some point.
Like they're both not going to be co-OCs forever.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
That's the other option.
You avoid losing both if whichever one is named head coach or offensive coordinator. You avoid that scenario in which they go to a school to become an offensive coordinator. If you're the offensive coordinator at LSU, I'm not going anywhere unless it's a head coaching job. Like, you wouldn't leave schools to what other school are you going to go to?
No. I don't think you leave the job that they're going to be and with the money they're probably going to make and what they do. I don't think you leave that even if they don't get the offensive coordinator job. I don't think you leave that unless it's a big step up as an OC.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to give them the title of offensive coordinator, you don't have to worry about them leaving until it's a head coaching job.
But I get it. I just don't know.
I don't know if you hold on to both of them. I mean, I imagine Hankton wants to be, if he doesn't get named offensive coordinator, then he'll be like, I want to be my own offensive coordinator.
But you also got to make sure you're putting the right guy in place.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a lot of protecting against recruiting as well. Like, Joe Sloan and Bryce Underwood are lockstep together. So if you lose Sloan anywhere before, like, even if you lose him next year, you still don't have Underwood signed.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that it all plays into it, because he's such a good recruiter, and because Hankton's such a good recruiter. That's a viable asset to, hey, we need to keep him around.
And
that's worth.
And that's why
that worth a promotion too.
And that's why I said maybe they hire Dana or someone like that in a different capacity where they don't get the OC title.
Yeah.
Where these guys are staying where they're at, You're bringing Dana or somebody that's got. I say Dana because I saw him.
You're bringing another name to sit in the room to have these conversations, to coach you through it, to kind of give you some situational football, to kind of help you form plans and put them together, and then you go run it. It's almost that coaching offensive analyst and or kind of defensive
Steve
analyst.
Sarkisian.
It's basically turned into football's version of being a bench coach in baseball, in Major League Baseball, where I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna give you every single suggestion I got. You run with them if you like them.
You're right.
That's kind of what it's turned into.
And that's where I think the Holgorsen thing makes the most sense. I don't know if you'd want him as offensive coordinator, but it wouldn't be a shock to the system to see someone like him that just got fired come in as an analyst. Like Alabama's been doing it for years. You mentioned Steve Sarkisian, where it's not like Holgorsen's over here pounding the table saying, "No, I have to be offensive coordinator. I'm not coming."
Yeah.
It's like, sure, I'll be around the building.
You're getting paid anyway.
Yeah.
You're getting paid $50 million as a buyout.
And I get to kind of lurk in the shadows, resurrect whatever
you got also
my
think,
name is.
We don't know because we're not in the building with this too. But you got to also think, like, will there be some spite if one of them gets promoted over the other one? So can we bring in Holgorsen as the analyst, keep running it the same way we did? That way both of them feel some entitlement to the position, but the machine's running as it is. We just need you to keep it going. But we don't want anybody kind of tearing this thing down at the same time. You got to wonder.